Hello, thank you for joining us today for the next webinar in our What's New series. In today's webinar, we'll cover some of the newest features in Microsoft 365 that you can implement in your business, as well as covering some of brand new features that give us a bit of an insight into the future of what Microsoft might be doing this year. Don't feel like you need to take it all in or make any notes, as we'll be sending out a recording later today and a follow-up fact sheet, so you can catch up on anything that you want to recover or perhaps share with other people in your business. Also, if you have questions, please do feel free to drop those into the Q&A box at the side at any time, and we'll also have some dedicated time for questions at the end of the webinar. So let's take a look at the agenda for today. We'll be taking a look at what happens when ChatGTP meets Microsoft Viva Sales. We'll be looking at a new way to track your team's targets with Viva goals in Microsoft Teams. Is it the end for Microsoft Yammer? Then we'll be looking at new favorites navigation in OneDrive. And finally, ransomware protection with Microsoft Defender. We'll be wrapping up by taking a look at the Bedrock strategy review and what's next in terms of this webinar series. So welcome to those of you who might not have joined one of these webinars before or may not be familiar with who Bedrock are. My name's Jennifer Benge and I'm the marketing manager at Bedrock. Bedrock is an IT managed service provider and Microsoft partner. This means that most of the IT we implement is based on the Microsoft stack. This includes Microsoft 365, Microsoft Teams, Azure, etc. We're also experts in secure, resilient networks and managed IT solutions where high performance is critical. And we work with organisations that have some of the highest security requirements in the UK. The thing we want you to achieve, no matter what your business does, is to make sure that your IT strategy is supporting your business as a whole. We do this with the help of our 8 strategic rocks. These rocks, as you can see on the screen here, are skills, data, investment, strategy, backup, security, quality of service, and collaboration. Collaboration is the focus of today's webinar. At their heart, Microsoft 365, Microsoft Teams, etc. are collaboration tools, but many people aren't using them to their full capacity and therefore aren't getting the best value out of their investment. That's why we originally set up this webinar series, just to make sure that you're staying on top of all these new features that are being released into Microsoft 365 so you can get the best value out of your subscription. So before we dive into the main agenda, here's a quick Teams update that you might find useful. It just came in as the last minute one this morning, so I thought it'd be useful to put in here. With Intelligent Recap, you can now save time that you spend reviewing meeting recordings. AI-generated chapters based on PowerPoint Live divide the meeting into sections using contents from the presentation, so it's easy to pick and choose the segment most relevant to you. Intelligent Recap will also automatically generate meeting chapters based on the meeting transcript in the future. So that's something we need to keep an eye out for, something coming up perhaps later on this year in the next few months. In addition, there may be specific points in a meeting that you want to revisit. So for example, personalised timeline markers that only you can see will call out when you joined or left a meeting. So that way you can just quickly click and listen in on what you missed. Personalised timeline markers will expand to include when your name was mentioned and when a screen was shared as well. So you can quickly get to those points in a meeting, revisit, recap, or catch up on what you missed if you had to go off somewhere else. Both of these features are available now within Microsoft Teams Premium. So if you've recorded a meeting in there, then you can try this new feature out. Next up, we've got our agenda item for Microsoft Viva Sales. So we first talked about Microsoft Viva Sales back in July last year. Microsoft Viva Sales is a new addition to the Microsoft Viva platform, which Microsoft are calling their seller experience application. When we first spoke about Viva Sales, the main features were designed to support sales personnel by using Office 365 and Teams to automatically capture data into any CRM system, eliminating manual data entry and giving more time to focus on selling. So I'm sure we've all had experience of perhaps you know that the information is within your organization somewhere, you need an email address to contact someone, but you can't find it anywhere within your CRM. So that's what this is aiming to help out and fix that problem. Viva Sales uses AI to capture this information and add it directly to whichever CRM you're already using. So it doesn't even have to be Dynamics, which is Microsoft's CRM platform. You can use whatever CRM system you're already using. The latest update to Viva Sales utilizes AI to an even greater extent by using Azure OpenAI and GPT. Viva Sales can remind sellers when it's time to follow up with a prospect or customer, and then automate a pre-formatted email response with personalized text and next best actions, along with details such as product descriptions, proposals, and deadlines. When responding to an email, Viva Sales provides sellers suggested responses based on categories such as make a proposal, reply to an inquiry, or suggest your own. The seller simply selects the best option and a reply is generated, which they can then review, edit, and send. So all of these tools have existed as separate components for a while, but having everything together and available directly within the salesperson's Outlook really takes it to a new level. So I'll be interested to see if anyone perhaps is already using this, if you think you might be using it at some point in the future, and just see how it develops over the course of this year, really. Sticking with the Viva suite, we're moving on to Microsoft Viva Goals next. So Microsoft Viva Goals is an add-on to the Microsoft Viva suite that connects teams to your organization's strategic priorities, unites them around your organization's mission and purpose, and then drives business results from there. Viva Goals lets you create and document your objectives and key results to gain clarity on where to focus your team's efforts. Initiatives help you track work towards your objectives and your key results. So those are the three main streams of work that you can have in Viva Goals, is the objectives, key results, and initiatives. With this update to Microsoft Viva Goals, you can create, edit, update, and share objectives and key results with teammates directly in a Teams chat. Having your OKRs available in chats makes company, team, and individual goals more visible in the spaces you already use on a daily basis. Checking in and sharing updates in chats without having to switch to another app or jump onto a call makes the check-in process much more streamlined and gives your employees time back to focus on the tasks that make a real impact. So if your organisation is already using Viva Goals, you just need to use the in-chat features to help cut back on your internal meetings. So, for example, rather than holding an hour meeting every 2 weeks to review your team's progress, you could try perhaps creating your team's OKRs in your team chat where they're visible and accessible for everyone. You can set tasks on a to-do list for your team to complete an OKR check-in every 2 weeks. And you can then, by doing that, save having face-to-face meetings or even Teams meetings for larger quarterly check-ins to iron out any blockers and celebrate successes. So rather than having to take time out of everyone's diary to do it all at the same time every week, you can just use this new feature and then gather together on a less regular basis to keep those reviews going. And our last update within the Viva suite is Viva Engage. So Microsoft have announced their plans to rebrand Yammer into Viva Engage. The first stage of this rebrand happened last year with the rebranding of the Yammer Communities app for Teams into Viva Engage. You'll start to notice changes from this point onwards, really. So from today onwards, with a rebrand happening gradually across all Yammer locations. There will be no impact to the existing profile, posts, bookmarks, etc. that you've already got saved in Yammer, and you don't need to take any actions as part of this rebrand. Changes will happen automatically. Outside of branding changes, there will be no changes to the features available for Microsoft 365 customers at this stage, although new capabilities will be added to Viva Engage over the course of the year. So we'll probably be coming back to review those new features as they are added, and Viva Engage expands to fill that gap where Yammer has left off and Viva Engage has taken over. So at this stage, nothing really major changing. It's just the name, just the branding. Everything else will carry on as normal if you're already a Yammer user. Here's a simple update that I hope you'll find useful. It's a useful way to get back to your most frequent or hard to find files within OneDrive. So coming soon from about mid-March to early April, you'll be able to use a favorite or unfavorite command in their context menu, or the command bar, or by simply hovering over the file which you want to favorite and using a star icon which appears when you hover over that file to make it your favorite. You will then be able to easily access those files from the OneDrive Favorites tab on the left navigation. So you can see on this slide here, that Favorites tab will appear on the left-hand side in OneDrive, and everything that you've favorited through one of those three methods will appear in that list. So if there's something you're working on repetitively over a period of time and you want to make it easy to get there, just save it by making it a favorite in there, and that'll be much easier for you to access. So again, that's coming at some point between mid-March and early April. So look out for it towards the end of this month. Okay, moving on now to something slightly different for us in these webinars. This is the first time that we've covered a Microsoft 365 Defender update. This was actually based on some feedback that I had from someone, so thank you, Chris, for emailing me on this. Happy to include more security updates if that's what people find interesting. And also we are looking at doing a specific webinar with one of our technical experts to go more in depth on some of the security features that have been updated recently. So for those of you who might not know, Microsoft 365 Defender is a collection of defense tools that work together to coordinate to coordinate the detection, prevention, investigation, and response against sophisticated attacks. It does this across endpoints, which are, for example, laptops, mobiles, anywhere where you can access your Microsoft 365 apps, identities, email, and applications to provide integrated protection. As well as being able to take some clever automated actions to protect your IT environment, the tools included in Microsoft 365 Defender mean that technical staff within your organisation can use it to narrate the full story of attack across products, alerts, behaviours and context by joining data on suspicious events, impacted assets into incidents. On this slide, you can see an example of how the Microsoft 365 Defender portal correlates all related alerts across products into a single incident. So by having that big zoomed out overview of your entire environment, Microsoft 365 Defender can use all these separate tools to basically create an incident page which shows you the full overview of what might be happening. Here's an example of the list of related alerts for an incident. So you can see here that alerts are categorized by their severity, and the security team will be able to see where that threat has come from, which endpoint device it's on, and perhaps which users have been affected as well. The update that we've had this month for Microsoft 365 Defender is the addition of automatic attack disruption to Microsoft 365 Defender. With this new feature, Defender builds a picture of how an attack affects your system and uses that to try and shut it down. It does this automatically and in real time. So rather than leaving intervention to the security admins, Microsoft 365 Defender will try to automatically disrupt the attacks it detects. It aims to contain the attacks while they're progressing, using AI to look at the signals and isolate assets that have already been affected. So this could mean suspending a compromised user whose account is being used by an attacker. It could mean resetting their password to limit access, blocking URLs in an email, removing messages and putting attachments in quarantine, automatically isolating infected devices, or offboarding them completely. Isolating a suspicious device disconnects it from everything except the connection to Defender. So you can therefore still use the Defender connection to reconnect the device if it turns out to be a false positive, and also fix the problem itself. Speaking of false positives, while automation is a powerful tool, obviously getting it wrong could be as disruptive as an actual attack. So Microsoft is rolling this out quite cautiously. Key systems are out of bounds for Defender's automatic disruption, and it currently works for 2 scenarios that Microsoft views as the most important to stop. So those 2 scenarios are business email compromise campaigns and human-operated ransomware attacks. Both these types of attacks do significant damage because they affect a wide range of resources and individuals. They require an end-to-end view, but they can be disrupted across the organization. So this is something that obviously is the new update. It's available now. So Microsoft Defender 365 can automatically disrupt attacks before you're potentially even aware of it. So having help from AI to protect your organization's IT can be vitally important. It can take under 2 hours from the time an employee is tricked into clicking a phishing link to the attacker getting full access to their inbox. From there, the attacker can set forwarding rules to send emails asking for money or confidential information that look as if they've come from a legitimate employee. The attacker then moves on to the attack from other internal systems. It can take only minutes for a ransomware operator to encrypt hundreds of devices. So the more help you can get on your side, whether that's from an internal team or from AI, really jumping on this quickly, the better, really. So on this slide, you can see an example of an incident page. This page will reflect the automatic attack disruption actions through the attack story and the status indicated by the yellow bar, which you can see along the top of the screen there. The incident will show a disruption tag, highlight the status of the assets contained in the incident graph, and add an action to the action center. So obviously it's not just acting completely of its own accord, and you're not going to know one of these attacks has happened or one of these automatic preventions has happened. You will be fully kept up to date with all the steps that have been taken to try and secure your environment. So Defender can only work properly if it's all set up and configured properly. And that's something we see time and time again at Bedrock, is that businesses are paying for this protection but not getting any benefit from it because they haven't set it up properly. And that's unfortunately something many organisations realise too late when a cyber attack has already happened. If not all devices are managed directly by Defender, you can't rely on Defender being able to lock them down directly if they're compromised. However, with this update as well, Microsoft are trying to find a way to protect the rest of the network from a rogue device. By using reverse isolation, Defender will prevent any enrolled devices from communicating with potentially dangerous devices. So essentially, it identifies the rogue device that isn't registered with Defender, but is potentially causing a problem, and just prevents any of the protected devices from communicating with it at all. So, as I said, we will be doing a more in-depth security webinar soon with one of our technical experts. So please do look out for that. I'll be sending you information about that if that's something that would interest you, or potentially you want to forward to one of your security team within your organisation as well. That kind of blends in quite nicely with our security review workshop that we want to cover with you. So the security review workshop is a one-day interactive workshop where you work with one of the Bedrock technical team to analyse the security features that you already have in place and find any gaps or holes where attackers can still find a way in. So during the course of this workshop, you will discover where you could be duplicating investment in cybersecurity tools that are doing the same job. You can check that you're meeting requirements for your cybersecurity insurance policy. Many won't pay out if you're not covered properly. And you can find out where the cracks are in your technology that could still potentially leave you open to attack. So, for example, not having all of your end user devices registered with Microsoft Defender could be one of those problems. We have a limited number of spaces for these workshops each month, so please do get in touch if you think you might like to set this up for your organisation. This is also part of our wider IT strategic review, which gets you to an executable plan for your IT within your business. It takes between 5 and 20 days, and you work with one of our consultant IT directors and their technical team to give you all the facts you need to know to make informed decisions about the best way forward for your organisation, and particularly the IT within that. Okay, we've got plenty of time this week for some Q&As. So if anyone's got any questions, please do feel free to share those now, and I will do my best to answer those. We've got a question around licensing around Defender. There's so many sort of different variations with licensing. So if you send us an email telling us what kind of system you've already got in place, we'll tell you what you can do to make sure that those licenses are giving you the best coverage possible. I'll get the information back to you at some point today, and be able to cover that more effectively than I can in this webinar. Okay. I realise we have completely sped through all of our updates today, which gives us a bit of time. Here's another one coming in. Does Bedrock also help to implement the recommendations made in the security review if required? Yes, absolutely. That's something that we are able to do for you. So as part of that security review, you will get a full report, which gives you all of the updates that we would recommend you do to secure your IT environment. It's then up to you. We're not saying you have to go with us to implement those changes. If you've already got a partner, for example, you could ask them to make those changes for you. We're not precious about that. But of course, we would love to make sure that you are secured. So if that's something you want to go with Bedrock for, we are happy to do that for you as well. Thank you, Ben. Just said thank you for coming. Okay, it looks like we are through the questions that we've got for this time. As I said, we will get back to you with further information around the licensing requirements. If you want to send us an email later today, just respond to the email with the recording and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. When will the new Viva take over from Yammer? So that's pretty much started to roll out now. The actual rebranding part of it has started to roll out from this point onwards, really. So you'll notice gradual changes. There might be a message bar that appears at the top of your app, just making you aware that soon Yammer will be rebranded to Viva Engage. It's not as if you're going to have you'll have to use different login details, or you'll have to use different, re-upload something or change anything. Everything's going to appear pretty much the same in terms of usability if you're already a Yammer user. Just look out for the rebranding, and then I think from the point where the rebranding starts, they will then gradually start to bring in new features for Viva Engage as well. So we'll keep you up to date with what those new features might be as we go through the rest of this year. Got a question around the favoriting of files in OneDrive. Will it be possible to favorite a file when you sorry, a bit I think there's a bit of a typo in the question, but I think I know what you mean. When you access it from the SharePoint site, but where it actually lives in. So at the moment, we've just got that information about the favorites from OneDrive. I think the functionality should be able to transfer across both of those, but I will check for you. Yeah, so I'll check that for you about the difference between the favoriting options between OneDrive and SharePoint, and I will update you as soon as I can on that as well. Okay, we've still got a few questions coming in, but I will bring this webinar to a close, I think. Let me just tell you about the next one in the series. So the next What's New webinar will take place in April, and so once again we'll be looking at the latest new releases from Microsoft in there, and perhaps updating you on some of those questions that have come in today. That will be on the 13th of April, so register for your place now. It's on the Bedrock website, or Cara has kindly just dropped that into the announcements box as well. So there's a direct link there if you want to register to join us again in April. As I said, everyone who's got some questions I said I'll come back to you with, that will be done with emails later today. And everyone, of course, who's attended will also receive the recording later today as well. So thank you very much for joining us. If you do have any further questions you'd like to ask, please do feel free to email me anytime. And if there's anything in particular you'd like to see covered in future webinars, like the security updates, for example, that we did today, please do feel free to drop me a line and tell me what's important for you, what would really make an impact in your organisation, and we'll be happy to cover those updates as well. So thank you very much, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you again in April. Bye-bye.